Good evening, everyone. Mike Palmer from Know Your Rights Group and Success Coaching International with another very important live video update tonight. Now, once again, we have a little bit of a mixed bag, a range of different topics to get through. So let's get straight into them. First and foremost, I've spoken a little bit about EVs or electric vehicles on the last video update that I did. I've had a heap of people send me through all kinds of different articles that reinforce a number of the issues that I previously spoke about. Now, I'm not going to go through every article, but there are a couple of key ones that I want to share with people. So if you missed my last video update, or if you're someone out there or you know someone out there who still thinks that EVs are the way to go, then you might want to have a look at some of these articles. Now, the first article actually addresses some of the points that I raised about these Chinese EVs listening in and watching their drivers. Now, keep in mind, this is a mainstream media article now. These people are talking about this on 9.com.au, news.com, those sorts of places. This is not sort of all weird fringe stuff. This is very, very mainstream now. Oh, pardon me. This is entitled "Dark Security Hole: Foreign Smart Cars More Likely to Listen In Than Be Controlled Remotely, Experts Say." The threat of foreign EVs being remotely controlled on Australian roads is unlikely, but the computers on wheels are still listening and watching everything we do. While Barnaby Joyce is worried about China remote controlling electric vehicles on Australian roads, cybersecurity experts are far more concerned about modern cars hoovering up our data. A recent global investigation found 25 car manufacturers collect data on facial expressions, sexual activity in cars, really? Weight, genetics, what you listen to in the car, destination and routes, voice data, phone contacts, speed, location, and footage of car users outside of their vehicles. Many manufacturers then sell this data to third parties. A Reset Tech report this week found Australians' live location data is shared 449 times a day and sold to sometimes shady buyers. The conjecture about Chinese EVs was sparked this week by Mr. Joyce drawing a parallel between Israel detonating pager devices in Lebanon and China controlling its EVs on Australian roads. The concern about foreign-made EVs is real, but it's a bit like worrying about someone hacking your computer or smartphone. Much more pressing than a foreign power remote steering your car is the ubiquitous overreach of devices and data brokers in our modern lives. This data can be valuable, and if it ends up in the wrong hands, it could be misused. So it's not about whether someone can control your car, but also about who has access to your personal information. Australians should be aware of both risks, cyber threats and privacy issues, when using foreign-made EVs. University of New South Wales Professor Salil Kanhia says almost all of the data cars gather from sensors, GPS and internal vehicle data, cameras and connected phone apps is sent back to the manufacturers. Many of them sell this data to brokers, market research companies and advertisers, and even turn it over to the government and police without a court order. In most instances, users have little control over their data and are even unable to delete personal data, he said. So this is, or certainly should be, a real concern for a lot of people. And yes, I know, I understand, other modern cars track a lot of data too. It's obviously not just EVs. I get that. But what you've got to focus on, the whole premise of an EV is the electric side of it, and therefore all that data collection, whereas these normal cars or ICE cars, internal combustion engines as they like to refer to them, all of that data and electric is more of an add-on to their principal focus. So look, at the end of the day, my suggestion is if you have, a good old 90s car or maybe an early noughties car with no Bluetooth connectivity, anything like that, I wouldn't be rushing out to go and upgrade it, and I certainly wouldn't be looking to upgrade to an EV. Now, I've got another article that again reaffirms the very same things, and again, it's straight out of the mainstream media. Okay, so this is becoming more and more well known, and people really need to consider it very seriously. Car makers slammed over privacy issues. Investigation finds that data collection by many top brands is highly concerning for drivers. Australia's top car companies have been slammed for tracking owners' locations, listening into conversations, and passing personal information to third parties. But car makers have defended the presence of Big Brother tech in vehicles and claim privacy concessions are necessary for many services, including the ability to automatically call an ambulance following a smash. Rafi Alam, Senior Campaigns and Policy Advisor at Choice, said 7 of the 10 best-selling automotive brands in Australia collected a highly concerning level of information about their customers. We discovered that Kia, Hyundai and Tesla were the worst offenders when it comes to protecting the privacy of their customers. Kia and Hyundai both collect and share voice recognition data with third parties along with other information. The report comes as governments in the US and Australia consider security and privacy risks of cars made in China. The Mozilla Foundation investigated 25 automotive brands in September 2023 and reported that cars are the worst category of products for privacy that we've ever reviewed, presenting a privacy nightmare for people concerned about how data is collected and used. So again, I urge you, please go and look up those articles, make sure you read them. And I would certainly like to think that most people are indeed concerned about how their personal data is collected and used, especially in the wake of the endless string of cyber attacks, data breaches, and of course all the cases of identity fraud that have occurred specifically over the last 12 to 24 months. Now, again, I urge everyone to, at the very least, keep this information at the forefront of your decision-making process if you are considering upgrading or purchasing a new car. And even those that subscribe to the narrative of, oh, well, if you've done nothing wrong, then you've got nothing to hide kind of thing, they should at the very least be worried about being bombarded with endless marketing promotions, which they've already agreed to collecting, as well as all of the other potential criminal uses of your private personal information. Even if you've indeed never done anything wrong at all yourself, that doesn't stop others from doing the wrong thing using your identity. And again, it's the same question as I asked last week. Is it really worth the risk? And obviously, only you can answer that for yourselves. Now, if all of that wasn't enough to dissuade you from these EVs, it now turns out that businesses in China, where a lot of these EVs are primarily being manufactured, are now actually banning them because of the safety risks specifically associated with them catching on fire. Now, we keep hearing stories in the media, but now we've got actual companies saying, no, you can't bring them into our premises. So this one's entitled, China Bans Electric Vehicles from Underground Car Parks. They explode as if packed full of toxic dynamite. And one nation has already started cracking down on electric vehicles as a result. They flare out in a jet flame with vicious intensity. They explode as if packed full of toxic dynamite, and when lithium-ion batteries burn, nothing can extinguish them. This is why Chinese hotels and property managers have begun to ban all electric vehicles, scooters, e-bikes, family cars, or commercial vans from their undercroft car parks. Local news reports that property owners were spurred into action after 11 intense battery fires in Zhejiang's capital Hangzhou in May of this year. Based on the characteristics of electric vehicle fires and our hotel's firefighting capabilities, we think it's safer not to allow them into the underground garage. RFA quotes one 5-star hotel owner as stating, the reports have revived fears that the new low carbon emission technology may be more trouble than it's worth. You think? And then there's a little subheading entitled Reality Bites. And it says 2 spectacular EV fires in New South Wales in September last year led to a spike in fears relating to lithium-ion batteries. 5 cars were destroyed when a damaged battery fell from a car parked at Sydney Airport. On the same day, the tail shaft of a truck that had fallen on a road smashed a car's battery pack near Penrose, initiating a fire. Such lithium-ion EV fires will inevitably become more common. I mean, I don't know how to make it any clearer. Again, yes, I understand, I acknowledge that any type of vehicle can catch on fire, I get that. But here's the thing, even though the government and the mainstream media are the ones pushing for EVs, they're actually still the same ones reporting on all of the fires that are associated with them. So once again, we've got a clear-cut case of things simply not adding up and things not working out the way that they claim they do. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't matter what type of car you drive, whether it's an EV car or an ICE car or anything else, as I've detailed on a number of recent video updates, it seems that the powers that be are so desperate to get their grubby little hands on your hard-earned money that they are doing all sorts of crazy things. And the latest thing that they're doing relates to very questionable and indeed very challengeable parking fines. Now, have a look at this. You've got the title of the article, but have a look where this car was parked, and this is what they've received a fine for. They're clearly out of the way of the driveway, but they've still received a fine. So this is what the article says. Driver's $119 fine over hard-to-spot parking offence, stitch up. Passerby Sam McGinn couldn't believe the driver had been fined for parking where they did. The difference of a few centimetres is what landed one driver with a $119 fine over a common parking offence that many are calling out the council for their harsh decision. Melbourne man Sam McGinn was recently walking past a parked car in South Yarra in the city's inner east when he spotted a parking fine stuck to the Ford Fiesta's windscreen. The driver's alleged offence, which occurred on August 14, was parked over a resident's driveway and blocking access to it. Now, I know the photo's a little bit dark, but again, go and look at the article yourselves and see if you think that that car is blocking access to the driveway. I mean, it's ridiculous. However, it could be argued that the car wasn't blocking the driveway at all. Absolutely. And instead, its bumper was ever so slightly beyond the boundary line of the driveway's entrance. Mr. McGinn agreed, and the infringement seemed uncalled for. And then, of course, there's a lovely little subheading saying that councils are being accused of revenue-raising tactics. And you wonder why when they issue fines like this. McGinn told Yahoo he questioned the council's decision to issue a fine such as this after sharing it on social media, and online many were in agreement. Some said they would appeal the fine if they were the driver. And I certainly hope that whoever that driver was, that they most assuredly did appeal that fine, because it is quite clearly, quite obviously, just blatant revenue raising. There's no victim in that case. No one's been harmed or anyway. No one's been deprived of entry into their driveway there. It's an absolute joke. Now, as always, okay, any unjust and unlawful fine, whether it be a speeding fine, parking fine, red light camera fine, any type of fine, can be very, very easily challenged by using the tried, tested and proven 3-step process from Chapter 3 of that Aussie Speeding Fines book. Anyone that knows how to cut and paste details into a pre-written document can use that process to challenge any type of fine. Okay, so as always, you will find a link in the description to this video and hopefully also in the comments section as well. Now, speaking of fines, I shared the story on last week's video about one of our members who actually challenged a parking fine and accidentally forgot about his court date. And unbeknownst to him, the council that actually flown the parking inspector who'd moved interstate flew him back down to Melbourne. And of course, because he wasn't there, they found him guilty in his absence. Now, of course, this particular member had read our Know Your Rights book, so he was aware of his rights. And of course, one of those rights is that you cannot be found guilty ex parte, i.e. when you are not in court. So he's learnt that from our book, and he's immediately appealed the decision to the county court. And as I said on the last video, when he turned up to the county court, the prosecutor said, "No worries, mate, we're withdrawing all of the charges." So here is the proof, once again, from the county court. You can see this is a county court letterhead. All the details are there, even the case numbers there. Obviously, we've blacked his name out for privacy reasons, but you can see the specifics there. It might be a little bit hard to read because it is quite small, but it says here that the original sentence was without conviction, fined $115, ordered to pay costs of $128.70. And then the decision on appeal, the order imposed in the Magistrates Court of Victoria on 23rd of April be set aside, and in their stead the following orders are made: charges dismissed. Okay, so there it is once again. Okay, I don't know how to make this any clearer than I have specifically over the past few months, where I've read out all of those testimonials from all those people and shown those actual court orders from the county court showing those appeals have worked. So please, if you get this book, if you follow that 3-step process, step by step, follow the whole process, follow it as it is outlined. If you can cut and paste, you can follow that process, stand your ground, and you can beat any type of unjust and unlawful fine. It really is that simple. Okay, so please, if you haven't yet got your copy of the book, there's links in the description. And remember, the best time to get it is before you get a fine. Don't wait till you got the sheriff's knocking on your door. That's a little bit late. Now, it gets even worse, because now you don't even have to drive a car to cop an unjust and unlawful fine. So I'm about to read out an article which relays a story of a dog owner, okay, who had their dog on a leash, mind you, but still copped an $800 fine. Okay, again, you're welcome to go and read this article for yourselves. Again, I've just got the key bits there, but I urge you to be aware of this. So this is entitled, "Dog Owner Lashes Out After Being Hit with $806 Fine for a Little Known Mistake." As we all cherish the companionship of our furry friends, it's essential to be aware of the local regulations that come with pet ownership. A recent incident on the Sunshine Coast is a stark reminder that even the most well-intentioned dog owners can find themselves on the wrong side of the law, so-called colour of law. Remember, if you don't know what that means, grab that Know Your Rights book. Facing hefty fines for seemingly minor infractions. Robin, a fashion boutique owner at Moffat Beach, was enjoying a peaceful coffee break with her blue heeler Violet when she was unexpectedly approached by council workers. Despite Violet being leashed and sitting quietly at Robin's feet, the officers deemed the dog not under effective control, because, get this, the reason why? The lead was resting on Robin's foot rather than being held in her hand. Are you serious? This small oversight led to a staggering $806 fine, leaving Robin in a state of shock and frustration. I mean, they will just stop at nothing to raise as much money as they possibly can. Now, the article actually goes on to explain that Robin is challenging that fine, and so she should. And again, please remember that Aussie Speeding Fines book covers all manner of unjust and unlawful fines, unregistered dog fines, dog off a leash fine, failing to wear a bicycle helmet, failing to tap your Mikey card on public transport. Any unjust and unlawful fines, these guys have a letter for it. If you can copy and paste your details in, you can use that process. Again, make sure you grab that book. Now, it seems like it's no longer just the general public that are getting sick of these ridiculous fines. It looks like it's actually the police as well, especially here in Victoria, where they are leaving in absolute droves, and the force is utterly desperate for anyone to try and join up as a revenue raiser and policy enforcer for the government. But the thing is that more and more people are now seeing the light, and they're refusing to be part of that scam, which is fantastic news. Now, this one's a little bit longer, but it does apply to all states. So I urge everybody, no matter what state you're in, to look this article up. So it says, Victoria Police down 1,000 officers as nationwide recruitment crisis deepens. Victoria Police has a shortage of 1,000 officers after a huge surge in departures in recent months amid a nationwide recruitment crisis, official force statistics show. There are now 1,029 vacant positions statewide, up by 200 since just June 30th. And the situation in Victoria is so dire that the force is contacting applicants who failed entrance exams or physicals and asking them to reapply. So they want to give guns and tasers to people who failed their entrance exam. Are you all feeling like super safe and secure now? I mean, you're better off battling it out with the Crims, I think. New South Wales Police has an even worse shortage of 2,279 officers, while Queensland is short 895. Western Australia and Northern Territory have 200 positions vacant each. South Australia has 170. Tasmania is down 32 and the ACT down 22. So across the board, across the whole country, they're all down on police numbers. Acting Senior Sergeant Joseph Hartwig from Hume in Melbourne's northwest, where crime is up 12.7%, said the force was stretched too thin to patrol the community properly, as his main focus has become making sure police stations were properly staffed. It makes extraordinarily difficult to commit to public safety and to continue to provide that service to the community, he said. It's a real concern for me. I'd love to provide a higher level of service to the community, but it's really, really problematic, and I just don't have the staff to deliver it. Really? Well, how about you get rid of all the Muppets on highway patrol who are pulling people over for 5 and 10 Ks over, these arbitrarily set and artificially reduced speed limits, and put them on patrolling the actual streets catching criminals? How about you stop sending all the police to the courts to prosecute these ridiculous fines and put those police back on the streets? I mean, just a couple of ideas that spring straight to mind. Police Federation of Australia CEO Scott Webber told ABC News last month that the recruitment crisis was the worst he'd seen in 30 years and officers had a massive backlog of jobs. Well, immediately stop pursuing fines and all that rubbish, and that'll halve your workload straight away. This means members of the public aren't being protected, he said. Well, that's not good enough. That means members of the public aren't being responded to, but it also means that police officers are already starting with such a difficult workload that they can never catch up. Well, then that's a problem, and it needs to be fixed. Public confidence in Victoria Police is at an all-time low. What do you know? Specifically after the actions of the force during the COVID pandemic, with just 58% of residents satisfied with policing services, down from 73.1% a year ago, while the same percentage say they have confidence in the force, a fall of 17% from the 2022-23 high. The force's dire public confidence ratings were a result of harsh and sometimes illegal enforcement Exactly what we said here at Know Your Rights over the whole COVID period of the left-wing Labor state government's draconian and human rights violating COVID lockdowns and restrictions, a former chief commissioner said in June. Unfortunately, what we saw through COVID and the lockdowns were many police actions being unreasonable, violent and indefensible. Victoria Police were seen as tools of the government, not independent, and that could cost them dearly, Cal Blair said. And already it is, and it's only likely to get worse unless they stand up for themselves and say, we don't want to be part of this policy enforcement anymore. We don't want to be glorified, revenue raisers for the government anymore. We want to go out there and keep people safe. And if you're not going to let us do that, we're going to leave. And the more that leave, the quicker the government will get the message. South Australia Police warned last month the recruitment crisis in their state meant that officers could no longer effectively patrol the notoriously violent Hindley Street Party precinct, meaning public safety could not be guaranteed. Again, this is not good enough. Get them off the roads pursuing people for 5 and 10 k's over the limit and put them in the problem areas. In Queensland, a damning internal fraud and corruption review found that in 2022 alone, there were more than 1,000 misconduct reports from inside the Queensland Police Service, including hundreds of allegations of violence. Well, maybe the police should be spending some time policing the police, but actually doing it properly. The QPS is so desperate for new officers that in 2023 it launched a global recruitment drive to find 500 foreign nationals a year for 5 years to join the force. They're not required to be Australian citizens or permanent residents. What could possibly go wrong? Oh my Lord. Last year, South Australia announced plans to allow 200 officers from overseas to fill frontline shortages, and Western Australia will also recruit hundreds of foreign officers over the next 5 years. They're giving these people guns and tasers and batons and handcuffs and all the rest of it. But I mean, this is a serious problem. Okay? Again, the answer or part of the answer is very simple. Stop sending the police to the courts day in and day out to prosecute these pointless fines that they've already admitted, are not safety related, and put them back on the street, stopping real crimes. It's certainly a good place to start. It's not going to fix everything, but it would at least show that they're serious about looking after the public. Now, speaking of money, because that's all this is ever all about, I do want to share a very exciting article with everybody from Norway, where they have now formally rejected the cashless agenda. So here's that article. It does go into a little bit more detail, but I just wanted to share the key points with everybody. It's entitled, "It Happened. Norway Just Rejected Cashless Agenda. Shops are now required by law to accept cash as a form of payment. Good news coming from Norway. They have now rejected the cashless agenda. From the 1st of October, all shops are required by law to accept real physical cash as a form of payment. So as long as payments are under, and I believe it's Norway krona 20,000, which is $1,871 equivalent, shops cannot refuse cash payments. Those that do so will risk being fined. Now there's a fine worth issuing. The Norwegian Directorate for Civil Protection even recommends people to have some amounts of cash at all times in case digital forms of payment stop working, like they have time and time and time again, as we've seen already just this year alone. With the World Economic Forum having pushed a cashless agenda, Norway is going the opposite way. It is important to have cash, because in a cashless society it would be very easy for a tyrannical government to control who can buy and sell, monitoring every transaction. Absolutely. We are already seeing banks that are monitoring people's purchases to calculate their CO2 emissions. How long until this would be used as a form of social credit score? Just one of the many, many issues with this cashless agenda. So now, of course, is the perfect time to remind everybody about Jason Bryce's petition. That, of course, is the one to legislate a formal cash and banking guarantee in this country. Okay, again, you should find a link going up in the description. If you're watching this on YouTube, just do a search for petition to legislate a formal cash and banking guarantee in Australia, and it will come up. Of course, make sure you also join our Call Out Cashless Businesses Facebook group. Okay, let's name and shame those businesses that still continue to refuse cash. And don't forget the sister group, the Cash is King discussion group, which is a great place to post these videos, those sorts of articles, get the message out there about the problems with the cashless agenda and, of course, how we can fight back. And speaking of writing to members of Parliament, which is what we need to be doing as part of these petitions and the overall agendas, we explained on Tuesday night's radio show that it is so important to keep doing that, especially in regard to this misinformation and disinformation bill. Even though the time to complete that ban the bill petition's over, you can definitely still keep expressing your will to your members of Parliament and forcing them to act on it. Now, the other thing that we spoke about on Tuesday night's radio show, which of course has been uploaded now for all members to access along with the transcript for that show as well, was the important federal court case regarding fluoride in our drinking water. So here's another article on it in case anyone missed Tuesday night's radio show. Please make sure you read this article. Fluoride in drinking water poses enough risk to merit new EPA action, judge says. So this is from New York City. Federal judge has ordered the US Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, to further regulate fluoride in drinking water because high levels could pose a risk to the intellectual development of children. US District Judge Edwin Chen cautioned that it's not certain that the amount of fluoride typically added to water is causing lower IQ in kids, but he concluded that mounting research points to an unreasonable risk that it could be. He ordered the EPA, therefore, to take steps to lower that risk, but didn't say what those measures should be. It's the first time a federal judge has made a determination about the neurodevelopmental risks to children of the recommended US water fluoride levels, says Ashley Malin, a University of Florida researcher who has studied the effect of higher fluoride levels in pregnant women. She called it the most historic ruling in the US fluoridation debate that we've ever seen. So again, a very, very powerful case, one that people should read, one that people should be aware of. And please do keep in mind, we can achieve the same results here in Australia. It wasn't that long ago that enough people banded together up in Cairns and forced the council to stop adding fluoride to the water up there. So it can be done anywhere, okay? But the only way it's going to get done is if you get other people together, band together, and write those My Will letters to your members of Parliament and force them to express your will on the floor of Parliament, which of course is what their job is. All right, and finally, I'm going to finish off, as I always do, with a couple of great memes to get people thinking. Now, unfortunately, my printer played up a little bit and it didn't print this one out properly, so I'm going to sort of hold it there as close as I can and hopefully you can read it. But what it says there on the lovely bottle is, the problem with natural immunity is it's free. And they keep trying to get us to take all these different jabs from we're just born right through to we're just about to die, and there's a jab for everything now. What happened to natural immunity? Where did that just magically disappear to? Okay, that's the question people should be asking. Now, this one came across my feed, and I had to have a bit of a laugh. You've got there the person pointing to the skeleton. You can't assume it's gender just because of its bone structure. It might be trans. And then you've got the skeleton saying, you can't assume it's rational just because it's human. It might be woke. And sadly, we're seeing more and more of that going out there in society, and we need to keep standing our ground and standing up against these minority groups who seem to be getting more and more and more power than they certainly need or deserve. But we do need to keep things in perspective, and I am going to leave you with this final meme because this is so important. We can absolutely agree to disagree. That's perfectly fine. So as it says, one of the biggest signs of maturity is being able to disagree with each other while still remaining respectful. So absolutely, it's important for people to learn about their rights, to stand up for their rights, to share this information as far and as wide as possible with others. But it is important to also still be respectful and make sure that you find that balance as well. So I'm going to leave things there for tonight. As always, I do urge you to make use of all of the various resources that are available to you to please get informed, get fired up, and get proactive. We need that action. We need those letters. We need those petitions signed. We need people to get proactive this year more than ever before. There is so much going on in the background. Director ID, digital ID, cashless agenda, EVs, all these sorts of things, misinformation bills. We've got to stay on top of it, and we've got to stay on top of our members of parliament. As always, there's tons of completely free information on our website, on the other websites that we recommend. There's links in the description. These videos, of course, are completely free to watch. You'll find them in the videos tab on our Facebook page, on our YouTube channel, on our BitChute channel. Our radio shows completely free to listen to every second week, on a Tuesday night. If you miss the live show, it costs less than $5 a week to become a podcast member. You get access to the edited shows, the show notes, the transcripts of the show. There's tons of information there. Of course, if you want to go above and beyond that, we do recommend our book, The Essential Step-by-Step Manual for Understanding and Exercising Your Rights. It does cover a whole range of topics and lots of information that sadly the majority of people out there really aren't even aware of. That Aussie Speeding Fines book, as I mentioned just before, for challenging all manner of unjust and unlawful fines. And of course, that Bank Secrets Revealed book, which does reveal the fraud that the banks commit every single time they engage in a home loan, as well as those tried, tested and proven steps for discharging any unsecured loans. That's your credit cards, personal loans. They can be just written off with a couple of letters. Very simple to follow steps once again. So you can get these individually. Again, you'll find links in the description. You can get them as part of the combo pack. You do get the tote bag included as a bonus, completely free of charge. If you want to go above and beyond what we cover in those books, don't forget we do one-on-one coaching, phone coaching sessions as well now. Again, you'll find that on our shop page or a product page. Again, you should find a link going up in the description. We have got some nicer, warmer weather coming slowly but surely, so grab our caps. If you're anywhere colder, grab one of the beanies. People see the logos, they come up, they have a chat. Great way to meet like-minded people. Grab those. We do, of course, have our final event for the year, our boot camp event. It is completely sold out, so we are very excited about our boot camp event up on the Gold Coast this weekend, and we look forward to seeing those people on Saturday morning. Of course, if you have missed our live events for whatever reason this year, please do make sure you grab a copy of our home study course. It is a complete recording of one of those 2.5 day live events. There's 17 DVDs which you can pause, rewind, fast forward in the comfort of your own home. There's 3 custom made workbooks with sections to write notes next to every slide from every single presentation, and it is a fantastic resource that you'll come back to again and again and again and again over the years. And again, you'll find a link in the description. So I'm going to leave things there. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. No live radio show next Tuesday because we're still away, but we will be back next Thursday night with the next live video update. Until then, take care.